What's up, Steeler Nation? This is the Bishop here, coming to give you another fan reaction or take based on just my perspective of some of the things that I've been witnessing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, in the future, I'm probably going to go into some other sports. At one point in time, I was thinking about giving a perspective on the LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith beef, and maybe some Cleveland Cavaliers reactions, but I'll do some Cavs things later in the future, in the coming future, near future, especially before the playoffs. But as far as Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James is concerned, I'm not going to touch on any of that monkey business. I don't want to talk about that. But as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers is concerned, basically getting excited for the draft to come up. That's coming up. Excuse my English. The draft coming up, and I'm looking forward to who's going to be our prospective number one pick. Which way should we go? Who do we think the Steelers brass is leaning towards? And so, once again, I'm a Steelers junkie, so I listen to all Steelers talk. I listen to DK Sports. I listen to SNR The Drive with Dale Lally and Matthew Williamson. I listen to Matthew Williamson on DK Sports. Sometimes I listen to Deke News. Never listen to them with Deke and I forgot the linebacker's name. But I know the ex-Steelers linebacker. I don't listen to him. And then when it comes to radio shows, I listen to pretty much anything in SNR. So just to pick up different types of perspectives to see what the media is covering. And so lately, I've been tuning into the NFL meetings and a couple of interviews that, Mike Tomlin gave to the media, his media session. I guess it was the first time he had spoken since the playoffs. And, I don't think that I can glean anything from that particular interview. I can't, I hear what Art Rooney's saying as far as they feel very confident about getting Aaron Rodgers and him becoming the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think my focus is gearing more towards the draft and what positions that we need to draft. And, I'm a little disappointed in the offseason acquisitions. I'm not overwhelmed or feel that we have greatly improved in anywhere other than the wide receiver position. I thought that we were going to go out after a legitimate starting quarterback, a legitimate young, upcoming starting quarterback, not 34-year-old Darius Slay. And I understand that he can come in and he can teach Joey Porter how to improve his craft, how to polish his skills, kind of in the Patrick Peterson role. But, we need another corner, like, for the future. And I just don't see us drafting a corner high. I think our number one draft pick, I think that we're going to go defensive tackle or defensive end. Somebody on the defensive line. Kenneth Grant, maybe. There's a couple other high-profile defensive tackles that have been mentioned by Dale and Matt on SNR The Drive. I've watched a lot of their mock drafts, so I have seen how they have attacked the big board. I've also watched Ben's Ballin' with Ben Roethlisberger and some of his perspectives. Like, one of the things that he was stating, that he wasn't in favor of taking a running back in the third or fourth round, he thought we should wait to the fifth or sixth round for a running back. And I want a high-end running back. My top three picks, top four, we're not going to get Ashton Gentry. I don't think that he's going to fall for the 21st pick. I don't want him anyway. I like the bigger, faster back. So I like the Omari from North Carolina State. Omarion Hardwick, is that it? No, that's not his name. That's the actor. I apologize. But Omari from North Carolina State. I think he's 6'1", 225 pounds, runs a 4.5, 4.4. I like Caleb Smith or Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, the University of Iowa. He's a bigger back that runs close to a 4.4, 4.45. I like him. I like Travion Henderson from Ohio State. I like him. Now, he's a smaller back, but, smaller as in shorter. I think he's like 5'10", but he's like 210, 215. I like him. He's shifty and he's a home run hitter. I also like the back, his backfield mate, and that's I'm drawing a blank here, but the backfield mate of Travion Henderson. I like him too as well, and he's big and strong. He's 6'1", 6 foot, 225 pounds, runs a 4.4. That's what we need, and he's shifty as well too. And so those are my top three backs. If we're going to draft one in the third or the fourth round, I like the young back from Kansas State, KJ. And I like him too. He's super shifty. He reminds me of Le'Veon Bell because the moves that he puts on defenders in the open field. Now, he's not as big as Bell. I think Bell was 6'2", 230, 6'2", 220. And this guy's about 215, but he's about 5'11". But I like him as well. And I like the back from Oklahoma State. How do you pronounce his name? Bashul Tootin? I like him. He's got good speed. He hits the hole hard. He's not as shifty as the other backs, but he's good. I'm not a fan of Scatterborough. I believe that's his name. I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of Damian Martinez. He's an okay back, but I think we need somebody dynamic. I don't think that we should go out and draft another version of Jaylen Warren. And not to say that Jaylen Warren is not a good back. He is a good back. But we need somebody special, a game breaker. Like every time he touches the ball, and you don't usually get those special game breakers in rounds 3 or 4. Now, when people devalue the running back position, it's two reasons why they devalue the running back position, or two main reasons. One of is the amount of punishments that running backs take. Second of all is running backs usually can come and fit into the offense and produce very early, regardless of what round you take them in. And that's why the running back position has been devalued. And also a third reason is that the average lifespan for a running back is only 5 years. But that's in conjunction with the fact that they take in an enormous amount of punishment between running the ball and blocking. They take an enormous amount of punishment, unless you're a specialty back and a third down back. When you draft a running back who is decent and he can, decently productive in college, he can assimilate into the pro game fairly fast because there's only but so many blocking schemes. And a lot of the things that he may have done in college, if you properly draft him, to the scheme that you're running currently when you bring them into the pros. They just come in and they plug and play. But the special running backs have been drafted in the higher rounds. Hall of Fame running backs. There's not too many Hall of Fame running backs that have been drafted in the later rounds, especially in this day and age of media coverage. There's not too many Terrell Davises walking around. There's not too many, what's another late round pick? I can't even think of any late round running backs that are Hall of Fame special running backs. If you want a Derrick Henry, a Le'Veon Bell, if you want an Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson, if you want a back of that caliber, somebody that for the next 7-8 years is going to put fear into defenses, you're going to have to draft them in the first 3 rounds, maybe even the top 2 rounds. And since the Steelers don't have a second-round pick, then that's just not something that's feasible. So with the running back class being this deep, this year, it's essential that I think they should pick a running back in the 3rd round. I even think that they should make a trade to try to get another pick into the 3rd round to maybe take that 3rd round cornerback, 3rd round running back and 3rd round quarterback. However, that might not be the case. What I don't think they should do is draft the running back number 1 overall. I think they need to fortify that defensive line by drafting one of these outstanding young defensive linemen that are in this upcoming draft. That's what we need. We need to improve that defensive line. First of all, the opposing offensive linemen are getting to our linebackers and into our secondary too easy, which is why we're giving up so many big holes, because our defensive line is not getting enough push and winning the line of scrimmage enough to keep the offensive linemen and blockers off of our linebackers. They're just blowing right through them. If Hayward is tired or Hayward has been substituted, it just looks like, other than Hayward and I'm drawing a big blank here, but other than Hayward and our second year player going into a 3rd year now, defensive tackle who's playing nose tackle now, other than those 2, we don't have any defensive linemen that are stand out. Larry Ogunjobi was a bust. For him to get paid the money that he's gotten, he showed up scarcely during the last 2 seasons. I understand that during the 2023 season, he played often, barely made it through the practice week, and showed up on game days. And he left a couple of games too, injured. So it's like he has some type of chronic injury. I know when we first re-signed him or signed him, it was because he had failed a physical with the Chicago Bears. So we've been missing that dominant right end or left end on the defensive line ever since Stephon Tuitt retired. And we just don't have that. So we need to fortify that defensive line, and we need to do it with some people that are special. Addressing some of our issues for depth is fine when you're talking about making picks in the later rounds. But for the first 3 rounds, even the 4th round, we need special players. And we need to attack our draft as if those special players have to be acquired from the positions that are of greater strength in this upcoming draft, or greater strength according to what's being reported. I don't think that we any longer need to focus on a wide receiver. That's a pick that we should be making 5th, 6th, 7th round. I guess Darius Slay does give us a little bit of cushion, especially if you have hope for number 27, whose name escapes me now. I'm having some memory issues today. But along with Joey Porter, The other rookie that came in, number 27, who I didn't see anything particularly special, but I was just appreciative that he was able to make it through most of the season because at Purdue, he missed a lot of time with injury, and he played well when he was on the field, but it seemed like every other year he was issued and had substantial issues, a knee issue, two knee issues, and then he comes into his rookie season and has a knee issue that kept him out the whole season. So I was glad that he was able to play the majority of the season. He was injured for a couple of games this year. However, he did make it through a majority of the season enough to contribute. So if they still have high hopes for him, maybe Darius Slay can help him as well with that presence. However, I guess that gives us a little leeway where we don't have to worry about cornerback as early because our main focus should be defensive tackle, running back. And I think we do need, I don't see the purpose of drafting a fifth or sixth round quarterback. I don't really see the purpose of that because take a quarterback that has some sort of upside, even if he's a project, just to have that talent on the field, like a Jalen Milroe or Will Howard. That's just my perspective. I'm tired of these lower end picks. We don't need any more Isaiah Loudermilks, 3-year project guys who doesn't have the skill set to play at this level. He can contribute in some capacity, but we need difference makers. We need difference makers because Cam is getting old. Ogunjobi is gone, and he wasn't that big of a factor in the first place. And so we need difference makers at those positions. Even the cornerback position, we need difference makers. As far as that third safety is concerned, we can find that third safety in the free agent market, even after the draft. During training camp, we can see who gets cut and released. We can find that third safety. We're not worried about that. We need to draft another offensive tackle with some type of pedigree, 4th, 5th round, that can come in as a depth piece that has like all the physical tools to be a starter, but is not quite ready to be a starter yet. We can find that there. And we can maybe even pick up a receiver that needs some work. Maybe there's something like a Martavius Bryant lurking around. But we have, with the addition of DK Metcalf, that really strengthened our wide receiver corps because now we're going our first 4 deep. And you have to have great expectations for Roman Wilson because he was a 3rd round pick. So that's another 3rd round pick that we have this year because he has yet to see any significant time in the NFL. I think he did play during the season, but he saw 5 snaps. And so we expect things from him. We expect him to contribute. We expect him within the whole offseason to get reacclimated to the program game, to come in and contribute because this will be his second go around. And he's gained some experience about being in the culture, being in the organization, just even being exposed to the NFL lifestyle. So you could basically count him as a third round pick. Some people say that we should go offensive tackle again in the 1st round, and I don't understand that. Okay, so Broderick Jones, we need to see what we have in Broderick Jones on the left side. We need to see that. Troy Fontenot is our 1st round pick from last year. He barely played either. We already had, those are 2 1st round picks that we have that didn't play. Consider those draft picks this year. They have no wear and tear on their bodies. So those are picks because they weren't with the team. They weren't significant contributors to the team. And they were high draft picks. So we have to look at it that way. As a matter of fact, I would be willing to bet that that's how the Steelers are looking at it because they say things like that all the time. And so I want to go defensive tackle in the 1st round. I want to go quarterback in the second round, in the fourth round, in the third round, and in the fourth round, running back. Unless we can find a way to get an additional third round pick. We don't have any compensatory picks this year. So if we can trade back into the third round or into the high fourth round to get that running back, Quinshawn Jenkins, I think that's his name, Ohio State. That guy, that is my sleeper pick in the later rounds, because I think that he is just as good as Caleb Johnson or just as good as Amari. I think he's just as good as either one of them. It's just that he had to split carries with Travion Henderson. So if he's there in the third or fourth round, I think we should jump on him. Depending on who's available. Because I like the back from Kansas State as well too. And so those are the things that I'm looking at. Those are the things that I'm looking forward to, just to see what's going on. I don't expect George Pickens to get traded. I really hope that the Steelers don't do that. I want to see both him and DK Metcalf on the field together. I'm not really even bothered by the Aaron Rodgers situation anymore. It is what it is. Any of the national pundits that are saying that the Steelers should draft a quarterback in the first round are foolish. Because, for what? I just don't see for what. Like I said before, if you draft a quarterback in the first round this year, who's that quarterback going to be? Because besides Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, who is the next quarterback that you think is worthy of a first-round draft choice? The knock on Jackson Dart is that he can't finish games and he makes bad decisions, so he needs some development. Tyler Shuck, that's his name. He's a 26-year-old quarterback, and that's not bad. You draft him, that's 10 years. You can get 10 years out of him. However, at what point was he projected to be a first-round quarterback? So what he showed you on tape made him the most NFL-ready quarterback to come in the draft to play right away. I guess so. I guess that could be the case. But for the Steelers to spend the 21st overall pick of the draft on him, I don't know, especially with him being injury prone. And most of the scouts have had a second or third round grade on him. I would rather just go with the upside of Jada Monroe, who just needs some development. He has the highest upside of any quarterback in this draft other than Cam Ward. And you say, well, what makes him have the highest ceiling, highest upside? His arm strength. He runs a 4.3. He's very shifty. So these things are his athletic abilities and his athletic attributes are the things that make his ceiling high. What keeps him in that third round, fourth round draft grade territory is the fact that he doesn't see defenses quite the way he should. He has some deficiencies in decision making. And so those are some things that he needs to work on and develop with. And whether it be behind Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers, he can learn those things. He can spend some time being developed. And if he picks up any of those things well, the Steelers won't need to draft a quarterback next year. But that's a big if. But it's worth the pick. It's worth the pick because the talent will justify the pick, but that's not a pick that you make in the first round. That's not somebody you tie yourself to that fifth year option contract with that type of pedigree and that salary slot at that particular time. And be it as may, nobody's going to draft Jalen Milroe in the first round. If they draft Jackson Dart in the first round, that's on them. But I don't think that the Steelers should do that. I think they should go defensive tackle or another position. And some people say they should draft offensive lineman. I don't think they should draft an offensive lineman right now. If you want somebody to come in and push Troy Fontanano or left tackle, then we can sign somebody in free agency that will allow us to do that. So Broderick Jones, and get a veteran to push him. You can find. Look, Dan Moore just got paid $20 million a year. Dan Moore is not a $20 million a year left tackle, but because he's been a 4-year starter and he's performed decently, he got that money because left tackles are rare to find. However, there are other veteran left tackles with some pedigree out on the market that you can find to come in and push Broderick Jones. And with the way that they'll be able to push him is through experience. So we can do that. We can find somebody. If not draft somebody just to develop behind him and just roll with him. You got Spencer Anderson on the team too as well. And he can play a myriad of positions and play them well, just not well enough to be an everyday starter. So this is just my take on the draft. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment. If you want to argue and debate, we can do that as well. If you disagree with me, just make your presence felt. And until next time, peace.